Hello, my name is Cinzia Priola. I work at Astor University in Birmingham in the United Kingdom, and I'm here to give you an overview of an article that has been published by the British Journal of Management that has been co-written with my colleagues Diego Lasio, Silvia De Simone and Francesco Serri from the University of Cagliari in Italy. The paper is titled The Sound of Silence: Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual and Transgender Discrimination in Inclusive Organizations. And it focuses on the practices of discrimination in the workplace, or what has been defined as an invisible group of workers, or an invisible minority, that of sexual minority. Diversity research has traditionally focused on more visible minorities such as disabled workers, ethnic minorities or gender. However, we can see that research on sexuality, in the area of sexuality in the workplace, is certainly attracting greater interest. And the paper focuses specifically on those hidden mechanisms of discrimination that take place in the daily practices of work. And we're focused on a specific empirical content, on specific organizations, such as social firms operating in Italy. These social firms have been been set up to support the integration and inclusion of disadvantaged workers that belong to specific disadvantaged group that have been specified by the Italian legislation, such as disabled workers, psychiatric patients, drug addicts and convicts. However, what we wanted to see was whether the practices in these organizations that have as their reason to exist the inclusion of disadvantaged workers, whether actually these practices supported the integration and the inclusion of all workers, and particularly of sexual minority. What we found is that actually there's culture of silence that exists in these 5 organizations we studied prevents LGBT employees from constructing a work identity that encompasses their sexual identity. And on the other hand, for the organizations which were the core or our interest, prevents them from achieving the aim of being fully inclusive workplaces. In terms of where the field is going, it has certainly been recognized that during the last few years the field of sexuality in the workplace, as well as studies on sexual minorities, is actually attracting greater interest by the academic community. But this is still, I see it as a marginal field within organization studies, within management in general, but also within sociology of work and within psychology of work. Research in the general area of diversity is becoming more and more important. It's becoming important within an academic field, but also from a practitioner perspective. However, studies within sexuality and sexual minorities are still confined to more critical circles and to more specialist journals. And I certainly will welcome the fact that slowly we are seeing more articles appearing in more prestigious general management and organization studies journals. This is opening up really to wider audiences the significant impact that organizational practices can have on different groups of workers and on their life and on their work experience. We certainly would like to see the study of sexuality take a much more, or take a more central stage within the study of diversity. But we also like to see more study coming up from different cultural and national context. For example, in Europe, we certainly would like to see more study conducted in the south of Europe or in Eastern European region, and certainly more coming from Asian countries and from African countries as well as South America, because the sector is really emerge within a more Anglo-Saxon context. In terms of the contribution of our paper, we feel that focusing on the organizational practices that actually informally, if I want to put in inverted commas, discriminate LGBTs in the workplace is very important, because often managers focuses on what are the formal processes and making sure that these formal processes are not discriminatory, and then not realizing the importance of all the informal talks and informal practices. In terms of teaching and how this article can be used for teaching sessions, we certainly feel that it can be used on diversity, in teaching diversity management, and specifically in sessions that focus on equality and diversity, and can provide a good example and demonstrate how theoretical concepts actually act in practice. But also I think it's important that witnesses the responses of our participant through the interview and the focus group extract that are included in the article support the emphasis on a practice-oriented teaching, which is what is encouraged in today's academic setting, and therefore provides students with almost first-hand evidence of how organizational processes work in practices. It also, as someone who has taught research methods, it also can be used as an example of how to conduct a critical discourse analysis in practice. So it can support students who are doing qualitative research, and can help them to see as an example of how a critical discourse analysis can be done. We hope that you have enjoyed reading our paper, and please do contact us for any feedback you might have, or if you want to discuss any of the issues raised in the paper. Thank you very much.